ThePapare.com. We got a very special gentleman in touch with us today. He's the second chief editor of L'Equipe magazine in France, which is not only the biggest sports magazine in France, but one of the biggest in Europe, if not the world. Bienvenue, Karim. Welcome.
How are you, Bohan?
Great. First time. Karim, you've been traveling Japan, not watching the French team so much, but it's watching the World Cup. What do you think of Japan as a country?
It's a huge country, but made of contrast. I would say a bipolar country, from a lot of qualities and a lot of weaknesses, and it's very hard for them to find a balance. I'm enjoying my time here, but it can be quite upsetting. So many contrasts.
Okay, it is really interesting what he says. Whether it's a bipolar, whether it's a hybrid, that's something that we've got to go away and think about. But that's something like the France team as well, isn't it? A bipolar team. Sometimes it turns up, sometimes it doesn't. What do you think of France's chances this
France
time?
team would be tripolar, quadrupolar. I mean, we have the big trouble of our team is we have quality players, but we have so many. We have so many cooks in the kitchen. So you have the president of the union, the head coach, the assistant coach. So we have a lot of difficulties to go one way. You know, we go this way, that way, and in such a game, you can see so many different sides of French teams. I would say the only consistency of French team is to have no consistency.
And against Wales, do you think they have a chance?
Personally, I don't rate them, but I hope they will win. And you come back to me on Monday and say I was wrong. I hope I'll be wrong.
Okay,
but alas, I'm afraid it's going to be very, very tough.
And obviously, before this tournament, everyone was rating the All Blacks. You've been following the All Blacks quite closely. How do you see them progress through this championship? And what do you think of their favourite stack? Do they deserve it?
I think so. We had this discussion formally, and I still rate them. I think this is the 5th World Cup of Steve Hansen. He's kind of playing poker now. He's putting all in with a very offensive, attacking, playing team. It's good for the game. It's good for the fan. It's good for the public. I enjoyed it so much. I mean, it's not like the Northern Hemisphere. It's going to be very interesting. This is Japan.
Yeah, this is. I think that's probably the valet or something.
The valet, yeah, a very loud valet. So back to the All Blacks. What I was saying is, it's going to be very interesting, the game on Saturday between two Kiwi coach, Joe Schmidt, Stevenson. Joe Schmidt is like very calculated rugby, very organized, very boring to my opinion. This is my opinion, but I like the flashy attacking style of the All Blacks.
And what about Japan? That's the story of this World Cup, really. They've won 3 games. They're one of the only, apart from Wales, they're the only team to have won all their group matches, although England, France and the All Blacks are also undefeated. What do you think of their story, Karim?
It's a flabbergasting story. I mean, the game of Sunday, 24 hours after the typhoon, was emotionally very huge. I mean, with the anthem, the Kimi ga Yo, sung by a whole stadium of 70,000 people, and the way they play, they're in quarterfinal for the first time of their history, and the way they play, attacking, flashy, Kiwi style, New Zealand style with James Joseph, the Maori coach, former All Black, are very, very exciting for the fans and for the journalists also.
And I know this is a question that all journalists really hate, but who's the winner, do you think? Can you pick one? Or at least can you pick your 4 semi-finalists from this lineup?
My reason or my heart? Are you talking? Are you asking?
Tell me about the heart. You're French. Speak from the heart.
I would love a Japan-New Zealand final. This would be huge for the game, huge for Japan, huge for rugby in Asia, in Sri Lanka, and wherever, because they are two flashy attacking teams. You know, the worst scenario for me would be England, New Zealand, and England beating.
That's the worst scenario for
yeah,
you. Okay, spoken like
Sorry to be opinionated, eh?
no, spoken like a to a Frenchman, obviously. So, Karim, in terms of the World Cup, how has this ranked as a World Cup? I'm sure you've covered them before. Which one is this in terms of that the one that you liked?
This is my fourth World Cup. I think it's matching with the last World Cup in terms of game now. I love very much so the last final between Australia and New Zealand. It was very good for the game, you know, not kicking rugby, hand rugby. So I hope we're going still in the same path.
And one we thing that we've heard about is about this Japanese team, and a lot of talk about the residency rules, which obviously France don't have. France have to have the 5-year rule, and then unless you have a passport, you can't play for the French team. The residency rule doesn't really apply. They're trying to raise that to 5 years. Do you think that's good for the global game or not?
It's true that the Japanese team doesn't really look Japanese, but I think this is. We have to go through this path to develop. If it's the price to pay to make rugby a global sport, let's pay this price, according to me.
Yeah, it's something that other sports have paid as well. I mean, if you call it a price, the French football team. Also, a lot of people may argue that it didn't look French, but that's not the case, is it? I mean, everybody's French wherever you may.
I don't think you can compare France to Japan. Japan is an island. French is a country of immigration. Even though they were black-faced, all the French players were born in France. You know, from second, third generation of migrants. French history of France for the for the last 1,000 years is about immigration from up north, south, west, east, Asia, Africa, Sri Lanka, India, wherever. So it's not the same comparison. I'm not sure.
Okay, so that's another interesting spin-off of this World Cup. Is it something that we need to look to do? Does immigration make countries better? The French football team would perhaps say that it does.
It does indeed, especially in Japan now.
Yeah. Especially in Japan. So maybe this Japanese team is something that might be a political beacon and to the culture of Japan as well. Mr. Karim Ben-Ismail, thank you very much for joining us.
Bohomatsuti.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the bell icon for our latest content.